The Akashic is purely and simply a memory. So everything that has ever occurred within this universe is recorded within that universal source. I suppose you can think of the mind as having various compartments to it, in one way or another. And so what I do is I've recognized the compartment, if you like, that communicates with the Akashic. So I address any questions I have to that compartment. And then it passes out through my higher self, and then in return I get the answer. And it's usually fairly instantaneous. I mean, we're not talking time lag here. We're talking, I ask the question, the answer's there. It's very rare that it takes more than a couple of seconds. Most people think of there being a god of some kind, a creationary force, or what the quantum physicists, I believe, call fields of possibility that existed before the Big Bang. I don't agree with the Big Bang because ultimately everything within this universe is planned in terms of who exists within it, what exists within it. And essentially the universe came about, not only this universe, but all the other universes that there are, came about because this being, this creator, these fields of possibility asked of itself a question along the lines of what would happen if I did this. And the first question that it asked itself really was what would happen if I created a space where all of the souls, all of the consciousnesses that inhabited that space had absolute freedom of choice to choose all of their actions. And this is how our universe came about, is purely and simply to explore the what if of freedom of choice. So the universe did not come into being with a Big Bang, but more what I suppose the Catholic Church would describe as spiritus, a divine breath, a breath of energy, if you like, into an envelope. So the universe itself is not expanding in the sense that we have an energy bubble, something shaped very similar to an ellipse, defines the boundaries of this universe. And within that universe, within our universe, it is imbued with the energies that allow all of the free-moving souls that inhabit this universe freedom of choice to choose whatever action they choose to take. The only limiting factor, as it were, is that you cannot choose to act in such a way that removes somebody else's freedom of choice. So all this began roughly 13.8 billion years ago. I'll give you the exact date, but I think that's a little bit silly.
What did it start with then, if it was not the Big Bang?
As I say, essentially, a divine breath, a breath of life into the void that was the universe. And the first form of evolution within the universe were those who were capable of building places where others could exist. So in other words, galaxies. So what we're looking at, and this is where cosmology breaks down as far as I'm concerned, is that everything that exists within the universe is a soul, is a consciousness. I don't see any difference between the two terms. Only one, really, consciousness is a scientific term, and soul you can think of as a religious term. But as far as my interpretation of them is concerned, then the two terms are interchangeable. So a soul is a consciousness, and a consciousness is a soul. So what we began with, say roughly around about 13.8 billion years ago, is with the development of very large consciousnesses that we call galaxies. And within those galaxies, again, it's purely, a galaxy really is an energy envelope into which other things can work and develop. And so there was a further stage of development where we have consciousnesses who could become solar systems or individual planets. but mainly a solar system is made up of a single consciousness. And it then, as an expression of its free choice, builds planets. So there's no matter as such within the universe. What we have is an energy, which then coalesces into various forms. And it is the choice of the individual consciousness within whatever parameters of energy they have available to them to construct from that whatever it is they choose. So we began with that process, and that took quite a few million years. And then about 65 million years ago, our solar system decided to form. Now, as part of the freedom of choice within this universe, one of the questions asked by this creationary source is human life possible? Is life at what we consider to be physical densities possible? And therefore our solar system chose a spot, if you like, in the middle of nowhere, or the edge of nowhere, I suppose, rather than the middle of nowhere, in that we exist in a space that is remote from the rest of the universe. And that was quite a deliberate choice, so that whatever occurred within the universe could occur around us but wouldn't affect us that much. And at the same time, if things within our solar system went disastrously wrong, then we wouldn't affect the rest of the universe as well. So those were the first choices made. Now I know that they don't bear any resemblance to the scientific time frames for these things, but I have a lot of doubt, a lot of difficulty with the scientific explanation of how old the Earth is, bearing in mind that it's based on the age of a meteorite, which is a theoretical age in any way of 4 billion years, which essentially the meteorite could have come from anywhere within the universe. So I really don't think that there's much value to the figures that the scientists have put onto this. But as far as this, to keep track of everything that occurs within the universe, so that that which created the universe can learn from the experiences, there is something called the Akashic field. Think of it more of a field rather than anything else. And what this Akashic does is to record everything that has ever occurred within this universe. Now the word Akashic is Sanskrit, so it's ancient Sumerian and goes back about 8,000 years, something like that. And as far as the Akashic itself is concerned, all the word Akashic means is record, literally that, nothing else. So its function is purely and simply to record everything that has occurred. Because after all, if you're sitting somewhere and you ponder a question, what you're trying to do is to find the answer. And therefore this is what this creationary source is doing, is trying to find the answer to the question it asked itself. And so the Akashic acts as a recording device, purely and simply to record everything that has occurred, all developments that take place, all the choices that individual souls make and how they interact with each other. Nothing beyond that. So that is what this thing called the Akashic is about, is purely and simply a recording device that allows this creationary source to answer the question that it asked. So everything is recorded within the Akashic. Every development that has occurred within the universe and inevitably within the solar system and here on Earth is recorded within it. It's just different levels of recording, essentially. So it's 65 million years ago, as say, our solar system first came into being, and in many respects our solar system is unique, because there were originally 13 planets to the solar system, including the Sun. And each of those planets is a consciousness in its own right. So in other words, there is not a solar system consciousness like most of the other solar systems within the universe. Each planet is a consciousness itself, and therefore has infinite choice and creative ability in terms of the energies that it has available to it. And each of the planets within the solar system began developing in its own way and chose to develop life that reflected the, if you like, the personality of the consciousness of that planet. So in that way, all of the solid planets rather than the Sun within our solar system developed life. and also developed life which you could think of as very similar to human. And that was the intention of our solar system in any way. Once the galaxies and solar systems had become established, then roughly 100 million years ago, the first free-moving souls, consciousnesses were created for this universe. These free-moving souls have no physical form or density, but are just purely and simply an energy form, a pure soul energy. In religious terms, these are what most people would call angels. Now, these originally started life, or were seeded onto 6 different planets. So in various locations around the universe, so you could think of these as being 6 different races. And what the Akashic records them as being is the non-physical races. It's simple terms, but then generally speaking, everything is very simple, really, when it comes down to it. And these 6 non-physical races developed into beings that communicate psychically. They can travel anywhere they choose within this universe. They don't need craft to do so. They just think themselves somewhere and they travel. These are what most people would think of as angels, I suspect. And this is where the root of several religious traditions come from. It's just purely and simply you have these free-moving, free-acting souls within the universe who were, for want of a better word, the first created of God. But as a halfway stage between the concept of human physical life and these free-moving, non-physical beings, pure soul energy beings, there are also what the Akashic describes as semi-physical beings. And these are what most people connect with UFOs and all the rest of it. So these are the aliens, as it were, or the non-terrestrial biological entities, as the American military now call them. And what you have with these are a very diverse range of beings who again began life inhabiting 7 very diverse planets. And each of them have developed in their own way and developed their own means of transport, essentially. Some of them have been connected with Earth for many millions of years, and others have not been connected with Earth at all. So those are the stages of development. So to put a time frame on it, roughly 100 million years ago we have the creation of the non-physical races. And roughly 35 million years ago, we have the creation of the semi-physical races. Now, by semi-physical, what I mean is that they have a they have a physical form and density to each other. But if we had somebody from one of these races standing in front of us in their natural form, then we might detect a presence, but we wouldn't be able to see them. It's purely and simply because our brains are just not tuned to the kind of energy frequencies that these are constructed from. But like the 6 non-physical races, these 7 have spread out throughout the universe, and wherever they have found compatible planets, they've settled on and developed. And this is where a huge problem with identification comes in.